Hi everyone, I'm TigerHawk T3, and today I'm going to talk about phone connectors. Phone connectors have been around for a while, and they're one of those things that have not always been very tidy. Basically, the problem is that there are standards. Not a standard, standards. The more standards you have, the less they mean. There are several standards for phone connectors. A few weeks ago, I thought maybe I could get a headset for my phone so I could have hands-free. Sometimes I telecommute with work, and it's nice to be able to not have to cradle a phone in your shoulder for 2 or 3 hours. I used to have a headset somewhere, don't know where it is, so then I remembered I have a whole bunch of audio connectors and plugs and cables, and I thought maybe I have enough to Frankenstein something together. Turned out I did, and I will show you right now what I have, what I made. I assembled this stuff. You know, some people walk around with a Bluetooth headset, just a little kind of thing hanging out on their ear, and sometimes they start talking to themselves and you think they're crazy, but really they're having an important business conversation while in line at the grocery store. Well, I can do that too with this. We have what's called a TRRS connector. That means tip ring ring sleeve. The image over here is just TRS, tip ring sleeve. So there's the tip of the connector. There's the tip, and there's a ring, and there's a ring. Notice the black band. That's non-conductive, so it kind of splits up that portion. So there's a connection here at the tip, and then a ring and a ring and a sleeve. Can't really see that in focus, can you? Other way, perhaps. There we go. So we have the tip, the ring, and the sleeve. And the sleeve is whatever bottom part. So let me refocus myself. That's better, I think. Awesome. So this would go into the phone. You know, that sort of thing. And this is actually the cable for my Koen A2 video player, which I have over here. I can show you that. This is a Koen A2. They came out in like 05, 06, somewhere around there. Probably a little before. I got this one in 06, and it still works. It's still perfect. It plays video, music, images, and text files. Very handy, actually. 20 gig capacity. I mean, it's kind of big. It's a hard drive based thing, but it has been very excellent. Good purchase. So this particular cable is came with that device, and you plug this into the into one of the jacks that it has, and this allows you to have it record audio or output audio, which is something a lot of things lack these days that seem like they should be able to. phones, for example, I think all should have some kind of video output would make sense. But no, I mean, you can connect like a Bluetooth keyboard, mouse sort of thing, but not an external monitor. They're almost computers, almost. So you plug this into one of the jacks in that, either the output or input, and the other end is standard RCA or composite plugs, and that would go into your TV or VCR or whatever you wanted to do. But I have them connected to, I can disconnect it and show you, a couple of RCA to stereo 3.5 millimeter plugs. So this is if you have like a VCR or a DVD player and you want to connect its output cables to this, and then the other end can go into like the input jack of like a stereo receiver or something. I have this. And here I have one of these cables in this. So I connect that in there. And yellow is like officially the video portion, and red and white are right and left audio respectively. So I have that plugged into this, which is just a splitter basically. It's 6 3.5 millimeter stereo audio plugs. Oh, there's someone in chat. Kenneth Dyer says, "Keep on being awesome, dude. Your videos are regularly entertaining and informative. I am off to bed, but will watch later." I am glad to hear it. I realize they can be kind of long and at odd times, but that's why I archive them, so you can watch them at your leisure. This is, yes, basically a splitter. If you have two people who want to listen to something with an individual set of headphones for each, then you plug your device into one of the ports, one of the jacks, and headphones into the others, and there are 6, very handy. So, and I got these on like from eBay somewhere. Some place in China was selling them for like $2-something each, and they each came with a little 3.5 millimeter male-to-male patch cable. Very handy. Do I have that over here? No. It's elsewhere. That's fine. But goes into this, and in here I have plugged in the mic 3.5 millimeter plug plugged into that jack, which goes to the headphone to the headset, and that is the mic connection. Now the red and white I have being the audio output from the phone to the headset for the mic, for the headphone portion. So that's a similar thing to this thing. I just have a different model. I didn't know where this was one day, and so I went out and bought this. It was like, I don't know, $3 or $5. Usable. I can use it. See, I'm using it. It's not junk. So that goes into another one of these. I bought 5 because I figured, why not? They were like $2 or $3 each, and that goes into the headphone plug for the headset. Now, this did not work when I tried it a few weeks ago. Didn't work. I plugged it into my phone, and it immediately started going crazy. It would repeatedly decrease the volume, like constantly, just by itself. And it would open the Google app, and then open it again and again and again, and then decrease the volume and open the Google app, just like constantly all the time. So the phone was unusable, like you couldn't press stuff because it would keep opening the Google app on top of whatever you were trying to do. Didn't work. My sister has a Galaxy S5. I plugged it in there, worked perfectly. So I'm like, this stuff is works on a different phone. Is something wrong with my phone? I don't know. So I figured maybe there's something weird about it for some reason, right? The video cable from a video player from 10 years ago with 2 audio splitters going into other splitters. I guess this would be a stereo adapter, RCA to 3.5mm adapter, going into 3.5mm splitters, going into the headset. Maybe something in there was wrong. I don't know. So what I did was I went on Amazon and I bought an actual headset. I got 2 actually. First one was the Bluedio that I reviewed in a little video on this channel, and it's backwards. I don't recommend those. I would guess that the people who say it's comfortable are wearing them backwards. I couldn't see myself doing that on an ongoing basis without being bothered by it. So I returned that, and then I got something that seemed to have similar features. Was cheaper, like $19, and had the same aux port, auxiliary port, so you can plug a 3.5mm cable into there, and then plug that into your device, and you have a set of wired headphones. For headset as well, there were like 3 different models that looked exactly the same on Amazon, and I'm like, they're probably all the same, just different branding. So there was that micro SD slot to be an MP3 player, kind of all-in-one unit. Don't have to have a separate MP3 player. That's pretty cool. What else? FM radio, because why not? More like because why? That shouldn't be there. No one listens to the radio anymore. I'm sure some people do. There are radio stations still, and they get advertising money somehow. So I assume that they're not dead. But I don't really know many people who listen to radio anymore. Auxiliary port, SD card, micro SD card, I should say. FM radio, and Bluetooth capability. So I got these headphones, this headset, started trying it out, plugged it in, didn't work like at all. I tried the auxiliary cable that it came with. I thought maybe there's like a loose connection in there somewhere. I don't know. Like I'd plug it in to the output jack for my computer, and I had to like, it sounded distant or something when I was listening to stuff. And then I like slightly unplugged it, and it sounded a little better, but still kind of disembodied. Very strange. So that didn't quite work with that. And plugging it in as a headset for the phone basically just didn't work. I also tried it as a headset for the computer. Tried just recording something. Barely audible. The mic had no pickup. Just didn't work. It was not backwards though, so that's something. It wasn't backwards, because the Bluetooth was designed backwards. This set just had no front or rear directionality at all. This looks out of focus. Let's fix that, shall we? That's a little better. It's as good as it's gonna get. It has no front or rear directionality at all. So it's never totally wrong, but it's just always vaguely uncomfortable. The ear cups did swivel, but only vertically, not horizontally. None of this. No. You'd think, right? You'd be wrong. Interesting little feature. If you just turn it on, the kind of display, there's no actual display, so the display is actually audio prompts. Turn it on and it says Bluetooth is ready to pair, etc. And that part worked. Connected it to my phone, and when listening via Bluetooth or the micro SD card, it sounded a little weird and uncomfortable, of course, but not quite as like broken as the cable. And I did buy a cable specifically to use with that, so I wouldn't have to worry about batteries. To use the micro SD card, you're gonna like this. For those of you watching at home or wherever you watch this, how do you think you turn on the micro SD MP3 functionality? How do you think you switch between that and the other functions like the radio or the phone? How do you think you do that? I will give you a moment to think about that, because that's there are a few possibilities, a few ways of doing that. You'd think there were like 5 buttons on the thing, multifunction power button, a generic left and right for volume and seek, phone, something else, radio, right? So there were several buttons. You turn on the MP3 player functionality by inserting the micro SD card. And you turn it off by removing the micro SD card. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that great? If you have a micro SD card in there, you can't use it for your phone at all. It's just not a thing for this one. That was an interesting learning experience, looking at the little manual. The manual was a folded piece of paper that, when unfolded, was this big. Printed both sides, then it's like folded, and I was like, that's it? Keeps on spelling Bluetooth, Booltooth, B-U-L-E, repeatedly. Excuse me. And apparently that's just how it is. You either turn it on to get to the phone, the Bluetooth functionality, or you put a micro SD card in there and turn the unit on, and it will be in MP3 mode. It's just how it is. So if you want to be listening to music, walking along, and then you want to have want to use it as a headset for your phone. Click. Take out the micro SD card. What do you do with it? I don't know. You can... This headset will tell you where you can put that SD card. Yeah, it's not like there's anything holding it in there. One more moment. No one wants to hear excessive throat clearing. Not much I could do about it. Last year when I was at work, I would do that constantly because I couldn't breathe. Where was I? There's nothing holding the SD card in there unless it's like solidly in and engaged and connected. So if you want to switch between modes, you have to remove the SD card and just kind of hold it, or put it in a box or something. You'd think they would let you just keep that in there. My phone, my $40 phone that after more research I've found has been like on sale Black Friday various times for like $18 or $19. It was possibly below cost, one of those deals they have to get you to spend more. But it has an SD card slot, a micro SD card slot, and you have to take out the back plate of the phone, and then you just kind of pop it in there, replace the back plate. While it's in there, you can still make phone calls, and you can still send text messages, and you can still listen to your voicemails, and you can still write text documents, etc. and so forth. You don't have to take out the SD card if you want to do anything other than listen to MP3s. Isn't that amazing? So yeah, that was an interesting surprise. How it was turn it off by removing the storage medium. That was cool. But fortunately the auxiliary stuff was broken. So I told Amazon, this is broken. Something's broken in there. And returned that today. And and then I thought, I got a TRRS cable that isn't this thing, what's it, that goes to the RCA plugs. I got an actual TRRS cable. TRRS cable, still have it in the bag for some reason. I don't know, didn't feel like taking it out. But I got an actual one, so I'm like, why don't I try to use that instead of this RCA cable-ish thing that was intended for a video player? Maybe that would work. And you know what? It does. It did. It worked perfectly on my phone. So I also got this little dealie, which is stereo audio, and I don't know why, but it's TRS, a stereo microphone plug, which is mono. I don't know, doesn't matter. One of them is just shorted to the other, and they both get it. Oh, in chat, the Eagle Eye 96 Entertainment asks, what do you say about the new iPhone 7 no aux? That's right, there's no headset jack for the iPhone 7. You'll find several people on the internet talking about that. One that I watched is Review Tech USA has a video, a rant about it. I found it was actually pretty funny. It wasn't a live stream, so he edited it with funny effects. But there technically are reasons for doing that, some of which Apple mentioned in their announcement of this. First, they take space, and space is at a premium in devices like this. That's very true. It's not an excuse or just a reason, it's a justification. There is very little room in these devices because they try to pack so much in. They want to make them thinner. I don't know if that's a good reason, because they're pretty thin already. Gotta remember that this isn't a phone isn't a device that's going to be inside another device installed by a machine. It's supposed to be human scale for use by humans. Apple seems to have forgotten that. They make their phones very thin and thin and thin, and then they kind of get a little not as much rigidity as people expect in a phone, maybe a little bit of wiggling. But that's a reason, I guess, and that's some sort of justification. I don't agree with it. My phone is vaguely blocky, not a mind at all. So there's not a lot of space, and they want to make them thinner. The other reasons they gave were courage, and that the headset plug is has been around for a long time. Do you know what's 30 years old and still around? Me. But that's not a reason to get rid of something that's been around for a while. That's requires other steps of logic. Like, if someone's computer is 30 years old, then it could be good. But why? Because computers have significant advances much more often than that. So using a computer that old is not very useful, and you would be much better off with a newer one. So that's intermediate logical steps to reach that conclusion. But headset plug is old, so it's got to go. Who cares? Who cares that it's old? It still works perfectly fine. All we need is a few bits of metal to connect our headset. Like, really, there was no problem with it. And they're really not that big. I think people would be okay with a phone that's a millimeter thicker because it's got a headset plug. Jack, sorry. Jack is the female portion, and plug. This is a plug. This is a jack. That's the way it is. Apple does have some nice little device called AirPods. Bluetooth earbuds, wireless. You get one little dealie for one ear. I'm looking for a thing on my desk that's an equivalent size, but I don't see one right now. Like earbuds without the cables. You just kind of stick them in your ear, and I hope they don't fall out because they're not tethered to anything. Have you ever lost your cell phone or your cordless phone? Now, have you ever lost a phone that was wired, connected to something? I don't think so, because it's tied down. Eagle Eye agrees with me there. Probably on the people would be fine with having a phone a little thicker for a feature like that. So I've heard that these things are expensive and not very secure, easy to fall out. I don't mean like secure as far as hackers. I mean, like, if you're jogging or something, are they gonna stay in your ears? I don't know, but they're like 150 bucks, and many people probably won't already have them, but they will already have the headphone or headset of their liking. But everything's fine. Everything's fine, Apple says, because we include an adapter right there in the box. It plugs into the Lightning port, which is the charging port. So you can't have the phone be charging while connected to a headset or auxiliary device. You would get an adapter that turns one Lightning port into two. So that's fun. And do you know what you end up with when you do that? You end up with this sort of thing from Apple. Apple wants you to do this. Dongles and adapters. They want you to do this with Apple stuff. That's insane. Why do they want that? The jack should be right there in the phone. If someone wants to charge their phone, use it as a jukebox sort of deal, they're gonna have something like this, and then another adapter. It's a dongle. It's a little cable. I don't know. More things hanging out of your phone. Is that Apple? That doesn't seem like Apple to me. Apple loves the design thing. I remember many years ago at my local Fry's, which is a big electronics store. They had some model of iMac, and they were selling the stand. The stand was like this polished stainless steel thing it was like a stool that your computer sits on. Came up to about yay high. It was so you could stand in front of your computer and use it, and instead of just being like a flat surface, just like a table, it had that, but underneath was the bottom half of a sphere. Ooh, because it was for those Macs that were like a hemisphere sort of base, and then like a little neck with the monitor. So it's like a nice little sphere with the thing. It looked all futuristic. That's Apple. They love their design. They love it. And they're abandoning it because they don't want a little unobtrusive headphone jack. Of course, not everyone uses it. And the people who really like Apple stuff are going to buy it anyway. And they will either deal, they will have dongles, or they will buy Bluetooth stuff. I have not yet found a Bluetooth headset that is any good and reasonably priced, but maybe they exist somewhere. Why did I unplug this? Plug this thing in here. Where did this go? This is the what's it for this, I believe. Yeah. So, where was I? This is what Apple wants you to do if you want to charge your phone while listening to music. This is what they want you to do. Now it's tangled. I didn't want that. Okay, that's good. Happy times. Alright. I'm practicing for iPhone. No, I'm not going to get an iPhone because they're going to be like, what, $700-800? I don't think so. I had an expensive phone. It sucked. Wi-Fi didn't work. So, I tried instead of instead of this thing intended as an AV cable for a video player connected to some 3.5mm adapters, instead of that, I got Eagle Eye says they're probably in for the money. Headsets will cost way more. Yes, they certainly do want money. Apple, that is, their business. That's very understandable. And people will give them money. The problem here, I like gesturing with something that's floppy. It's inordinately amusing. The problem is not with Apple, it's with people who keep buying stuff that encourages worse products. Same for movies and video games. People pre-ordering video games, sight unseen, they have no idea whether it's going to be any good, and then they get Arkham Knight, and it doesn't run. Or it runs at like 5 frames a second. Or, 20, 25-ish, if you have a $5,000 computer that you use for reviewing, like Total Biscuit reviewed that game, and it sort of ran. It looked really bad, but it was almost playable on his machine that's like top of the line everything, because his job is literally reviewing video games. This thing, and I got a cable. Notice it's an actual TRRS. I don't want to mess with the focus again, but that's what it is. So I get this thing that's a TRRS jack to microphone and headphone plugs, and we Frankenstein away, and then we get come here. We get these things. Remember these? Plug those suckers in. Now this, we just we look. The green one is headphone. Here, the black one is headphone, and the other one is microphone. And now we have our slightly different setup. It's a little less adaptery. It's pretty good. See? Perfect. Very awesome. I should use that when I go out. It'd be real cool. The only way I could be more hipstery is if my phone had a rotary dial. But why does this work while the other one didn't? And why does this one not work with my sister's Galaxy S5 while the other one did? Why indeed? Because standards. There are multiple standards. The configuration for this one with the video player, what's it? Where'd the end go? Do I have that somewhere? This thing. Yeah. This TRRS is, the tip is one of the audio channels, and then the top ring is the other audio channel, and then we have the mic. Yes, the mic. Not the mic. We have, sorry, that was all wrong, because this is a video cable, remember. I actually drew up a diagram in Paint. Let me bring that up. We have left audio, right audio, video, and then ground. Okay? This is called the OMTP standard. You can look up phone connectors on Wikipedia for more information, or Google in general. This cable, which matches the configuration my phone's headset jack has is audio, audio, then ground, and then microphone. So there's no way for those to work together, those different standards, and that's CTIA/AHJ. I guess there were two main groups that use that. I didn't really look into it. CTIA/AHJ. So I actually determined this, which pins went where. Got my DMM, my digital multimeter, and I checked for resistance between all the various points, and so I could say this contact is going to this wire, and this contact is going to that wire, and this contact is going here. And yeah, I determined that the contact points are different. The ground and microphone contacts are different, are reversed in those two standards. So using one that had a ground for the sheath, it's tip ring sheath. Using one for the ground with the sheath, when a microphone was expected, means that there's nothing going into the microphone input when you plug that in. Or maybe just random noise from the ground, if there's anything to ground. And when it's expecting something in the microphone, or no, the ground would have microphone input signals, and it's just dumping that to ground. And using one headset like this in a device expecting the other has the same problem. Mic where the ground is and ground where the mic is does not work. So that's basically my story. Longer than expected. So let's summarize. When you're working with phone connectors, make sure you're using the same standard for everything, and if not, you will have to convert somehow, somewhere. Have fun with that. But so the ZTE Maven uses the what is it called? I keep forgetting. The CTIA AHJ standard. Wikipedia says that they're used in actually Apple devices until the 7, when it will no longer exist. Well, I guess it'll be in the Lightning port adapter. I don't know if that really makes any difference, because it's just a digital thing conversion. I don't even know how that'll work. Maybe they have some kind of there's probably an actual electronic driver in that adapter. It's not just move this signal here and move that signal there sort of thing. So iPhones, Apple stuff, tablets, etc., and most Android phones and newer Samsung phones use this CTIA AHJ with the microphone in the sleeve. While what is it? Old Nokia phones and Lumia starting from the 2nd generation. Old Samsung stuff, old Sony Ericsson, the PlayStation Vita or Vita, the OnePlus One. OnePlus is seems like a pretty popular brand of phone. I've heard good things about them. Xbox One controller with headphone jack, and the iPhone sold in China. That's OMTP. With the sleeve being the ground instead of the microphone. Sheath, sleeve, if I've been using those interchangeably. Tip, ring, and sleeve Is sheath a thing here? No, doesn't say sheath anywhere in this page. In the sleeve. So apparently that OMTP that the Galaxy S5 uses is one of the older standards. And Apple, the newest Nokias, the newest Samsung, and most Android phones, that's kind of broad, use CTIA AHJ. So keep that in mind, I guess, or just connect with Bluetooth. That's probably easier than this. And also in the summary, is Apple removing the headphone jack is unnecessary, and I think their justifications are flimsy at best. Again, I thought the same thing about them not supporting Flash on iPads many years ago when Flash was still used for everything, and HTML5 was not the status of those things is not easy to categorize. HTML5 is like a new kind of platform with certain things expected, but not every device or application necessarily has all of the features described in this platform standard implemented. So many years ago, there was already HTML5, but could you expect anyone to be able to view a video in HTML5 with a video tag? Not really, because it wasn't really there yet. So many years ago, HTML5 wasn't really there yet. And you knew everyone had Flash and a plugin for Flash, and if you had a Flash video, anywhere would play it, except for iPads, because they're like, we're not gonna support Flash. It's eventually gonna be on its way out, so we're gonna stop supporting it right now. They did the same for floppy disks. The iMac had no floppy drive. You could buy a USB floppy drive for $40. That was, what, in the 90s? Floppy drives were still definitely in use then. There weren't really USB flash drives then, I don't think. And if there were, it wasn't really a thing to boot from them. You couldn't expect the motherboard BIOS to detect a USB device and boot from it. Wasn't a thing. And there were a lot of recovery disk stuff that was on floppies. And just a lot of user data still stored on floppies because they were cheap, easy to find, and every computer had a floppy drive until the iMac. And then it was an add-on for $40 instead of being like a $5 component that's already in there. So they did away with the floppy drive way too early. They did away with Flash too early, causing great inconvenience for users and great cost if they wanted to, well, cost for the floppy drive, but Flash, not really anything you could do. Remember, YouTube was initially just Flash stuff because everyone had it. I think there was a special app for iPad or something, or iPhone, that converted videos. I don't even remember, but it was a mess. Very messy for consumers. Eagle Eye asks, do you know about the Block phone? I say that phone would be the best. I have not heard of that one. I don't know what that is. There are so many Android phones out there. So many. Hundreds of models. Or thousands, I don't know. A couple thousand? A lot. So, I know a few of them, HTC, ZTE, Samsung, OnePlus, Huawei, so on and so forth. But I have not heard about the Block phone. What was I saying? If totally lost my train of thought. That's okay. So yeah. Right. Apple discarding technologies before they are done. Floppy drives, it's understandable, I guess, because new media had more capacity and speed, etc. So it's kind of understandable that people knew the floppy would eventually be kind of phased out. That makes sense. Flash, probably. Flash is awful, performs terribly, but it was in everything. Just like JavaScript is a horrible, horrible language, but it's everywhere. So there's kind of a big spur to write everything in JavaScript, because then you can just have it in the browser. But the headphone jack. Headphone jacks work fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. Why are they... This abandonment of various technologies, this particular instance, I don't think is even early. Just shouldn't have happened. Like, maybe, but it's simple, it's durable. I had an old Ericsson flip phone with a camera. I hated it because it didn't have a keypad lock since it closed, but then they put buttons on the outside, so I ended up with hundreds of pictures of the inside of my pocket. It had a charger connector that was this weird proprietary thing with a couple flimsy little wire contacts just kind of hanging out. I took very good care of it. It ended up breaking anyway. Could not charge it. It was awful. I hated it. Then I got my Nokia 2610, and it had like a regular DC jack and plug. 100% reliable. Durable, never any worry about anything. And now phones have micro USB. My sister's phones last generally 6 months to a year, because she plugs them in to charge, and then she'll be moving around with them, and the cable isn't where she thinks it is, or it's stuck somewhere, and it ends up kind of wrenching the connector a little bit. And after 6 months to a year of that, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't charge. You plug it in, and nothing happens, and then you kind of wiggle it, and now it has contact, and then you let go, and it loses, and so that's not too good. But I don't know how good Lightning is, how durable that is, if people are comfortable with plugging that in, unplugging it repeatedly. But 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, it's fine. It's a very durable connector. Very popular. Very cheap. Ubiquitous. It's everywhere, and it's good. Flash was everywhere, but it was bad. Floppies were everywhere, and they weren't bad. They were just superseded by other stuff. There's nothing to supersede 3.5 millimeter headphone jacks, because they work fine, and they're good. They've been around for a long time for a reason. But, odd decision. Odd. But it'll work out fine for Apple. People will still buy the iPhone 7. You think they won't? Of course they will. It has like another gig of RAM or something, and the screen's the same. The screen is fine. My phone has like an 800 by 400-ish something. There are 4K phones, and 4K meaning 4,000 by 4,038 something by 2,000 for 1920 by 1080s. That much resolution in a phone, and my phone has like a tenth of that. Actually, a tenth in both dimensions. Probably about 1/100th the total resolution. Because instead of 3800, it's 380-ish. No, it's 800 by 400. Not the same. Let me... Hang on. By 2000, divided by 800, by 400. About 25 times the resolution. And it's fine. It doesn't look grainy or weird. It's fine. It has the DPI needed to make a reasonable image, and I don't see any problem with it. But yeah, some people are upset that the iPhone 7 has like the same screen as the other ones. And I guess that's justified, because they're paying a lot of money for these things, so they should expect better. iPhones also don't have quick charging or wireless charging. It's weird. I actually recently added wireless charging to my phone. Used to be USB port, and now there's that's where the little adapter goes in. So now there's wireless charging in my phone. Recap. There are many standards for headsets and phone connectors. Make sure you're using devices and accessories that are all on the same standard. And have fun with your iPhone 7. I hope you don't have pre-existing accessories for audio, like headphones, because they won't work. Or if you do, you won't be able to charge it. Or if you do, you'll have to have a whole bunch of dongles and connectors and adapters. And then why do you have an iPhone? Good design. Anyway, thank you for watching, and thank you for joining me in chat. Tomorrow will be a game of some kind, and day after that, I don't know. I'm just kind of winging these as they come. I thought of today's stream like an hour or something before starting, so I'll think of something. Leave a comment if you have an idea, and also maybe like some of these videos and subscribe. I keep on making stuff, so if you subscribe you can get notified, that sort of thing. I like seeing the numbers go up. Thanks again, and thanks for joining me in chat, Kenneth and Eagle-Eye96. I hope to see you another time, and that's gonna be the stream today. So, and you're welcome, Eagle-Eye, for the video. Thanks, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.